Okay, so we are gonna now review Siman Reish Nun Aleph. We spent around a week or so on this short siman, and we are gonna go through the notes that I typed up, and I tried to organize all of these halachas that we've been learning all in one shot, abbreviated. The introduction to the siman Sif Aleph. Torah quotes the Gemara that says that someone who works Erev Shabbos after the time for mincha will not see blessing from that work, aka that specific work. Which mincha is Chazal referring to? You can't work after mincha. According to the Torah, this refers to mincha gedola, which is 6.5 halachic hours into the day. Others say that this refers to mincha ketana, which is 9.5 halachic hours into the day. So you have machlokas there, okay? Taz says, this is according to the Taz, since it is not prohibited to work Erev Shabbos, rather won't see blessing from that work. Someone who relies on Rashi and holds that it refers to Mincha Ketana won't lose out on the blessing factor. Now, according to the Lavush, one should be stringent because we're dealing with honoring Shabbos over here. So you have a discussion, different opinions, which opinion we hold like regarding Mincha. Chida says that these halachas also apply on Erev Yontif, and the Aruch HaShulchan rules that this refers to Mincha Ketana.
Right.
It should be pointed out as a footnote. See Be'er Halacha. Because the Be'er Halacha holds a little bit stronger than the Taz. According to the Taz, it isn't a prohibition, but if we just review what the Be'er Halacha said briefly, the Be'er Halacha said not so fast on that. He said that it is a prohibition. It's not as stringent as another rabbinic prohibition that you'd be liable to receive lashes for, but nevertheless, according to the Be'er Halacha, it's going to be a prohibition. And the Be'er Halacha acknowledges this opinion of the Taz, right over here, who holds that it's not a prohibition. But according to the Be'er Halacha, it could very well be something more than that. Yeah.
So the Be'er Halacha is going on even working before Mincha Ketana?
Right.
No, after.
Oh, so he's okay.
After Mincha.
Ketana.
After Mincha.
Or which Mincha?
This Be'er Halacha isn't talking about exactly which Mincha. That's going to be the Mishnah Brew over here in Gimel. He says if you rely on those who are lenient, you have who to rely on, aka Mincha Ketana.
You don't go lose out on the
But the Taz is saying that it's not a prohibition, to which the Be'er Halacha's response is, yeah, it is. It's not just as strong as a prohibition as other prohibitions. It's a nuance.
Okay.
Okay. Tangentially,
No, this is the key.
Aruch HaShulchan rules that this refers to Mincha Ketana. Okay, different opinions. Tangentially, Kaf HaChaim relates that in places where they have the custom not to work the entire day, even from the morning,
Understood.
there is a discussion if this is halachically considered a full-fledged custom and it is prohibited, or if this isn't halachically considered anything. So in places where they have the custom not to work the entire day from the morning, that's what the Kaf HaChaim says. Some places they don't work the whole Friday. So is that considered now a full-fledged custom? And it would be prohibited to work? Or maybe it isn't halachically considered anything. So therefore, someone who has the custom not to work from the morning and wants to retract needs to annul his vow in order to fulfill those who are stringent. So, Shiloh of Hataras and Dar. Is there a difference if you're paid to do the work or you're just doing the work without being paid? Torah quotes the Avia Ezri who says that this specifically refers to working for money. However, it's permitted to fix one's clothing and vessels for Shabbos and Yontif. So if you're doing something for Shabbos, it's fine. Torah says that it is implied from his words that working is prohibited even if he isn't getting paid if it isn't for Shabbos.
Or the store.
So it's prohibited to fix one's clothing. Now the Torah says that it is implied from his words that working is prohibited even if he isn't getting paid if it isn't for Shabbos. So according to the Torah,
Yeah.
the Torah said it's based on what the Avi Ezri rules that even if you're not getting paid, it's still a problem. That's what the Torah says. Yeah? Which is interesting. But then the Torah says, he quotes his father who says it's permissible to write Sfarim for oneself. Let's just see this Torah inside because this is a little tricky because it seems like specifically he said getting paid and now he's saying if you don't get paid. The Avi Ezri says that specifically if you're doing malacha in order to get paid, however, you could fix your clothing for the needs of Shabbat Yontif, and it's implied from the end of his words. Oh, from the end of his words. Even if you're not getting paid, if you're not doing it for Shabbos. Okay, so that's what it has to be. So Tours says that it's implied from the end of his words that working is prohibited even if he isn't getting paid, if it isn't for Shabbos. So that's if it's not for Shabbos. So if it's for Shabbos, then it's fine. But if not, not. Beis Yosef says that it's implied that you need two factors over here for being permissible to work. Number one, you can't get paid. Number two, it has to be needed for Shabbos. All right. Now, this doesn't apply to your friend's clothing. It doesn't only apply to your friend's clothing. It applies to anything that is needed for Shabbos that one isn't getting paid for. So that's the idea over here. So it could be anything. So that's what the Beis Yosef over here said over here. Vav Davko Duhud in the Big D Chavedo. Okay, so this is a mistake over here. This is a mistake over here. It has to be said. Has to be work that one is getting paid for. Furthermore, this doesn't only apply to one's own clothing. To one's own clothing. Rather, this applies to anything that is needed for Shabbos that one isn't getting paid for, even if it's for your friend. Okay? So that's that. Why is it prohibited to work Erev Shabbos? The Kolbo says that you might be burdened with working and come to desecrate Shabbos. The Or Zarua says that it's in order that will be ample time to prepare for Shabbos. Shulchan Aruch Harav says that this even applies to someone who has someone else to prepare for him. The rabbis didn't differentiate with their enactments over here. So we have over here two basic reasons for working Erev Shabbos. Number one, you might be burdened with your work and you're going to come to desecrate Shabbos. And number two, which is a concern, you're going to get caught up with what you're doing. And number two is that you're not going to have time to prepare for Shabbos. Now, this is an interesting Shulchan Aruch Harav. Even someone who has someone else to prepare for him, doesn't matter. Rabbi said a reason, you got a hold of it. Right? Leniencies. Why do a lot of people work Erev Shabbos nowadays? We're going straight to leniencies.
Right.
The first, they're basically all in Aruch HaShulchan. Right? The Aruch HaShulchan explains people need the money. Right? Reason number two, employees need to work till close to sunset based on what it says in Choshen Mishpat. Reason number three, people aren't starting new jobs for work. They're finishing what they already started with before, and therefore you could be more lenient on that. Reason number four is the whole idea so that you have time, and the truth of the matter is the Aruch HaShulchan, is really basing this reason based on this Or Zarua, that you have time to prepare for Shabbos. So the Aruch HaShulchan says that the reason why people shouldn't work is so that they prepare for Shabbos. But guess what? Nowadays, people's wives prepare for Shabbos. For them for Shabbos. And therefore, if other people already prepared for us, so then we could work later on because we don't need those preparations because they're already getting taken care of. Now, the Aruch HaShulchan concludes by saying that this is only a way to defend what people do. But someone who fears Hashem has to go according to the enactment of the rabbis, and then it'll be good. So, look, the idea is that
That proper star receiver on.
there's a serious idea of not working till
Right.
the latest time possible before Shabbos.
Or something quote unquote sell this.
These are only leniencies that are being presented. Preferable, you shouldn't.
That's how they get out of it.
I tried looking for it, I couldn't find it, but I think they said by
Case when you have at Iska.
maybe it was their Ramah's father. I mean, there were great rabbis that they say they were born in the merit of their parents, like they don't work Erev Shabbos or something. I forgot the exact stories. I thought I had stories in my head. I looked for it a little bit, I couldn't find it. Anyways, okay, are haircuts allowed Erev Shabbos? Kolbo says it's prohibited for a Jewish barber to give haircuts on Erev Shabbos and Yontif from Mincha time. Beis Yosef says that any place where the halacha is weak in your hands, go after the lenient opinion. Ramah says that a Jewish barber may give haircuts the entire day. So here you have the Ramah, you already have the Beis Yosef who says if the halacha is weak, you go after the lenient opinion. Now we have the Ramah that says that a Jewish barber could give haircuts the entire day. So where did this come from that you're allowed to give haircuts the entire day? So comes along the Magen Avram and says that the reason why haircuts are allowed Erev Shabbos is because it's needed for Shabbos. You need the haircut for Shabbos, and therefore it's totally fine. And therefore it's fine not only to get the haircut, but to give the haircut if you have a Jewish barber as well. And therefore he's allowed to even get paid for what he's doing. Lavush says that it's permissible to get a haircut Erev Shabbos in order that you won't go into Shabbos when you are disgusting, when you're maneuver. This is for Shabbos, and therefore it's permissible. Now, most people are busy. They don't have time to get a haircut in the middle of the day, and the only time that they're available is close to Shabbos. It is therefore permissible for a Jewish barber to give haircuts on Erev Shabbos. This is where it comes from, because this is the only time. What's the source of this? This is already the Lavush starts talking about it. A lot of people already discuss this idea. Now, the Mishnah Berurah says that since someone calls everyone to come to shul, so there's not concern that person's gonna forget that it's gonna be Shabbos, whatever it is, right? And then you could add the Piskei Teshuvos, which wasn't added here yet, about how nowadays it's shorter to give the haircuts. It's a shorter process. What about business Erev Shabbos? The Magen Avraham has had a tremendous leniency. He said that pragmatia business is allowed on Erev Shabbos. Many others argue. Kaf HaChaim included, he says you have to stop your business before Shabbos and leave enough time to prepare for the needs of Shabbos. You have to leave time to shower. Your wife can't take care of your shower for you. You have to shower. You have to put on your clothing. You have to leave time for this. You're going to shave, trim. If one needs to learn less on Erev Shabbos in order to prepare properly for Shabbos, one certainly needs to decrease his business Erev Shabbos so he can prepare for Shabbos. Think about that. Taz says that someone who is poor and wants to work in order to use that money for Shabbos expenses may do so. We also saw in the Kaf HaChaim, he quoted the Ben Ish Chai. I didn't write it here because I thought it's not such an applicable case. But if someone has a loan, he took a loan from someone, and now he's working on Erev Shabbos. No, excuse me. He took a loan so that he could pay for Shabbos expenses with the intention that he would be able to repay the loan based on the work that he does on Friday, Erev Shabbos. That type of work is permissible to do. That I didn't type up because it's not such a relevant case.
Does that simply have to be Shabbos? It can be any mitzvah item. Like
Shabbos, Yontif.
No. It could be like let's say
You only mentioned Shabbos.
Okay, whatever.
You only mentioned Shabbos. It could very well apply to other mitzvahs, though.
Yeah.
What about learning Torah of Shabbos? This is actually an interesting part of this simon. Ramah says that you should decrease the amount of time that you learn on Erev Shabbos in order to properly prepare for Shabbos. Magen Avraham says this is why there's no yeshiva Erev Shabbos. He then quotes Seder Hayom, who says that someone who learns a set amount or with other people continue learning Erev Shabbos. Set amount or a public setting, learn Erev Shabbos. It's not typed up over here, but maybe it is. I don't know. Rav Harfina says that if everyone is learning their own topic, but they all learn like at a set time in a base medrash, that's considered public learning, which you should continue Erev Shabbos. However, learning in yeshiva, what is that? That is considered something that doesn't have a set amount and it has no end. It just keeps going. And so therefore that's the concern, that's the issue with learning that doesn't end. However, if a person is doing Shnai Mechra Ve'echad Targum, that's permissible because that's like a set amount. Someone who prepared for Shabbos already Thursday may learn Erev Shabbos if your preparations are done. It should be pointed out, Kaf HaChaim says, look, preferably we don't prepare for Shabbos on Thursday. Only if you're not going to be able, you're going to be unable to prepare for Shabbos Friday, then you prepare for Thursday. But preferably, we only prepare for Shabbos on Erev Shabbos itself, Friday, so this would not apply. But that we discussed in Siman Reishon. Aruch HaShulchan says if your wife is preparing for Shabbos, you don't need to stop the learning because your wife is taking care of the Shabbos needs. Furthermore, says the Aruch HaShulchan, the people are working the whole Erev Shabbos, so then certainly people should be learning the whole Erev Shabbos. Good point from the Aruch HaShulchan. Parfinis writes that in a yeshiva where the Bachrim live in dorms, and there is a chef that cooks their Shabbos food, they have to continue learning. It's the same idea if you have your wife, someone else is preparing, you got to continue. Similarly, you have a kollel. The wives of the people learning in the kollel prepare all the food for Shabbos. You got to keep learning. Furthermore, he says, they never said that you don't learn at all. You decrease your learning. For sure, you have to continue learning, though. It's just a decrease. Good point. Ramon only mentions decrease the amount of times that you learn. Furthermore, we have to consider Shabbos preparations are much quicker now. First of all, buying the food. We don't have to wait till the last minute to make sure that all the produce is fresh because we have refrigerators. The cooking equipment is better. The actual cooking process is quicker. We have higher flames, very powerful paraphernalia, cooking equipment. Therefore, it's all quicker. You need less time. You got to learn more. We'll end with this idea over here. This is something which is copied and pasted, but it came up again over here. Bachrim in yeshiva should be learning Erev Shabbos. It certainly applies if they do not need to take part in the cooking, which is the case many times. The Shabbos preparation of a bacher is to learn with diligence. That's what we saw. The Chafetz Chaim was very upset. People who don't learn on Erev Shabbos and Shabbos, it's 20 years of a person's life if he's going to live for 70 years. Think about that for a minute. The Chazon Ish would warn and instruct his students to learn at times when only a few amount of people are learning. Because, for example, after midday on Erev Shabbos, Yontif, the Taz, the Rabbi Akiva Eiger, they said they only merited the levels that they achieved because they learned at times when few people were learning. This is like a mace mitzvah. There's a dead body on the street. No one's burying it. Sefer Kerem Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua Cohen writes that this includes Erev Shabbos, before Yontif, after Shabbos, after Yontif, after fasting, during fasting, Purim. Learn at all these times. Steipler explains someone who learns Torah at times when only a few people are learning will receive more of a siyata d'shmaya, heavenly assistance. Furthermore, he's going to be able to learn whatever area of Torah he wants to learn. He's not going to be obligated to learn what they're learning in the yeshiva. Some rabbis say that the main preparations of Bacha for Shabbos, okay, we already saw this. This could be erased. And the idea is Bachrim should learn until 3 hours before Shabbos. That's what it is. If you want to quantify it, 3 hours before Shabbos, that's the idea. This is the Siman, Reishon Aleph, nice short Siman, nice ideas to have in our belt. Any questions, comments?
We never define, we just defined, we said you're allowed to do business, we said you shouldn't do malacha, but we still haven't defined those terms of what's the not opportunity to.
Business means you're not an employee, you're running some sort of business. That's why the Kaf HaChaim and others was upset about that, and he specified you have to still leave time for the preparations. And others didn't like that Magen Avraham. And they say, well, what's the Makkah talking about?
Malacha, we talking about malacha like lamed tes malachos? I mean, talking about.
I didn't want to go through the nitty gritties, but it's a discussion like what is work in general. You know, there's different forms of work, computer work, you know, and you have to calculate the type of work that you're doing. Are you going to be tired because of the work going to Shabbos? Number one. Number two is the work gonna now you're gonna get so caught up that you're gonna not be able to prepare chas v'shalom violate Shabbos. So you have to factor all that. It applies with business. You have to factor it all in.
Talking about things that are shard, you know. So
Yeah,
nowadays
that's the
seem
moment.
to
No,
move-
that's the arguing. They say you have to have the time to prepare. That's the reason that we just learned. You have to think about logically.
Of course they will. Yeah, no.
All right, shkaya.
All right, welcome to you. Mitzvah Hashem, we will start a new simon. I got some homework. Put together all the sources and everything.
Thank you very much for doing it.
Yeah. All right. I do it
Yeah.
good for me also. There's a way to learn properly.
Okay, also, why don't you say that like
Yeah.
people in yeshiva these days they'll go to yeshiva on Sunday when many times people are off of work, so maybe like Friday's their day of off, you know?
Want people in Shiva?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
sounds-
Like I know a guy like that where he has a job, whatever he does, where he's off Friday because he works Sunday.
yeah. Look, you know, guys in yeshiva, he's learning. There's no such thing as just, oh, now you don't need to learn the whole day. Other jobs, you don't need to work. You don't go to work. Torah's not that way. You always gotta learn. Right?
So practically.
Yeah, practically. If you're taking care of necessities, it's fine. You have to take care of necessities. But that's person who's learning full time. Just because he's not getting paid, Nicole isn't paying him Erev Shabbos, which is a discussion of itself, or whatever it is, doesn't mean that he shouldn't be learning. On the contrary, they say opposite. Someone who's in Kola and getting paid to learn, he has to make sure that he sets time to learn in addition to the time that he's getting paid, and that he can learn the areas that he's not obligated to learn based on the Kola, that they make him learn certain areas. That's what they say.
Who's they? What you're saying?
It's brought down. It's in,